Hey guys, just before we get to today's clip, just a quick reminder for all Serie A fans in the UK and Ireland, you can now stream every single match live on OneFootball. No matter which team you're backing, OneFootball's got you covered. You can watch via the OneFootball app on your phone or connected TVs from Apple TV, Google TV, Samsung, LG, and Fire TV, or on the website tv.onefootball. And what's even better is that you can choose how you watch it. You can grab a team or a season pass to watch all the matches until the end of the season, or just the ones from your favourite club. There's also a match day pass for £9.99 to watch all the weekend's games, or a single match on pay-per-view for £4.99. And yeah, if you missed a live game, you'll still get access to all the match highlights too. So if Serie A is your thing, OneFootball is where it's at. We'll have a link in the description of the episode for you to buy your preferred stream.
Welcome to the Italian Football Podcast.
Right, next question. CJ Barile says, what were Man United smoking when they decided to sell McTominay to Napoli last summer?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind some of that stuff. To be honest with you, but yeah, I mean they've made a big mistake, haven't they? Let's be honest. I mean he's performed fantastically again on Monday. 2 more goals. Should have had a hat trick. He hit the post. He had another chance, and he's been one of the first names on the team sheet for Napoli. Antonio Conte absolutely loves him. I think Paolo Di Canio famously said, didn't he, earlier in the season, that all the Man United directors should be arrested for selling the McTominay to Napoli, and only Di Canio could say something like that. But I saw a stat actually that well, I didn't see the stat. I researched the stat myself, and that McTominay has more league goals this season for Napoli than all of the Manchester United midfielders combined from open play. He has 8 goals, and Manchester United
have 9 goals.
8, I think. 8,
okay.
Yeah, 8 in Serie A. I think he scored another one in the Coppa Italia, so 9, I think, in all competitions. And Manchester United midfielders have scored 7 goals from open play this season. 5 of them from Bruno Fernandes, 1 from Manuel Ugarte, and 1 from somebody else. I think Casemiro, has got the other one. And yeah, he's so dangerous with his late runs into the box, but he's got a great shot. He's a great finisher when he gets in the positions, when he gets chances, and he's so good in the air, so monster in the air, though, his leap and his heading ability, and he's such a threat, and he's probably underrated with his ability on the ball as well. Maybe he doesn't get enough credit for on the ball. He's better with the ball than maybe some say. So. Yeah, I think Man United have made a big mistake.
Here's the thing, and I want to address another point in connection to this, but I want to play devil's advocate a little bit. How much, I mean, it's easy now when he scored 9 goals in all comps to say that it was a mistake. But equally, how much of that is, once again, Antonio Conte's unbelievable ability to find players that are not sexy names, that are pretty limited, pretty mediocre. I'm not saying they're bad, but with very limited technical abilities, but with very specific traits in terms of dynamism and maybe natural high football IQ in terms of knowing when to run into space and run in from deep and when to make those runs, and his ability to transform that into his system. How much of that can we say is Antonio Conte? How much of that, given his record with people like Victor Moses, for example, I think is the most glaring example of that. How many, or Marcos Alonso or whatever, how many times, how much of that do we attribute to Antonio Conte? And I don't want to take anything away from Scott McTominay, because I think at the end of the day, he's the one scoring the goals. But I do think that a big portion of that is Antonio Conte.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And it goes the other way as well. We've seen Manchester United have signed so many players for big money, you think are going to do well, and then they completely flop. And a bit like the discussion we had with Juventus earlier in the season, with like the flops of Luiz and Cook Miners and Nico Gonzalez. And the question is it because they're bad players, or is it because the manager can't get the best out of them, or is it the environment? And with someone like McTominay, who didn't do bad at United, he was always a good performer, right, but never like this level. Is it because at United he was never going to be able to reach this level because of the just the state of the club and the manager and the environment and everything? Whereas at Napoli he's found those conditions to succeed. So it's it comes down to that as well, I think.
I mean, because it's like, it's we've seen him do this many times over with and his ability to make things work that aren't natural fits. Like we saw with Christian Eriksen, for example, wasn't a natural fit, or Milan Skriniar at Inter wasn't a natural fit, but he made it work. He knew how to make it work. Same thing with Ivan Perisic. Wasn't a natural fit, ostracized him for a year, sent him to Bayern Munich, where he won a treble, and then he came back, and then he kind of used him as a wing back, and Perisic had a renaissance and was probably at the absolute best of his career before he left Inter, if we're perfectly honest, in terms of quality. You can see that even at Juve. Andrea Pirlo is not a natural fit for a Conte midfield, but he knew how to make that work because he had Vidal, Marchisio running for him, Lichtsteiner. I mean, Lichtsteiner, another fantastic example of a player who was never a world-class player, but Antonio Conte got him to take that next step. Even Mirko Vucinic was serviceable at Juve in the beginning. This is something that Conte does. I think this is, for me, I always remember when I interviewed Riccardo Ferri, and I asked him who he thinks is a better manager out of Trapattoni and Arrigo Sacchi. And he said, the way I view it is a coach is like a chef. A world-class chef looks into the pantry and can create you a 3-star Guide Michelin dinner with whatever he's got. A good chef needs specific ingredients to make it work. I mean, I would say that Antonio Conte definitely needs specific ingredients. Some players just don't work in his system and he gets rid of them. But one thing he is very good at is he is fantastic at building teams that are better than the sum of their parts. I think he's extraordinary at that. And I think we've seen that time and time again. And I think Scott McTominay is just a recent example of a long list of players who become maybe not world-class, but world-class adjacent or just under world-class under Antonio Conte. Romelu Lukaku is probably the most shining example of that. Romelu Lukaku was always a prolific goal scorer, but he was never one of the best number 9s in the world until Antonio Conte finally got his hands on him at Inter those 2 seasons. Then he became a £100 million player under Antonio Conte because he knew exactly how to use him, and he knew exactly how to keep, not just tactically, but keep him motivated, keep him fit. That to me is and I just feel that Scott McTominay is just another example of a long list of Antonio Conte miracles, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think he's a good fit as well, isn't he? That's his best position, like the third of the most advanced of the 3 midfielders. He likes to have the license to make those late runs into the box. At United, he wasn't always played in his best possessed position. Sometimes he was played like deep, like in a 4-2-3-1, as a double pivot, which obviously doesn't suit his game. So it's about playing players in their right positions, and then you generally tend to get the best out of them. We've seen that with many players, even like with Igor Tudor at Juventus. Like, first thing he did was he spoke to all the players and he asked them, well, what's your favorite position? Where do you like playing? And they said to him, I like playing here. I like playing here. Yildiz says he likes playing as a number 10. So you play players in their best positions as well, and generally you've got more chance of getting the best out of them. So I think it's It's a number of reasons, but absolutely, if you look at how Man United have struggled, they definitely could have done with him this season.
They absolutely could. But just to as a side note, Romelu Lukaku has now 10 assists, 12 goals in the Serie A, double figures for both. And this during a season where we can all see that he's no longer the Romelu of 2-3 years ago. But again, Antonio Conte, I think we spoke about this a while ago. Like, has there ever been a more coach player better suited for one another than Conte and Lukaku? It's truly remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah, he's his daddy.
The reference to everyone who doesn't understand that is we had Nizar Kinsella on when he was, I think it was I don't remember where he was working at the time. I think it was the Daily Standard or something. I can't remember. He's with the BBC
Evening
now.
Standard.
The Evening Standard. Sorry, I don't care. I'm sorry. I love Naz. I just don't care about British media. Anyway, Daily Standard, Evening Standard, whatever. Some standard.
All the same.
Yeah, all the same. Some standard, not a very high one. But regardless, Naz was there, and we interviewed him, and I asked him about that because he was the Chelsea correspondent. He's a Chelsea expert, and I asked him about what that interview, because it was just after the season following that, and Nizar obviously revealed that during a tactical meeting between Lukaku and Tuchel asked, Spurs were playing, and Tuchel says, "Oh, look, there's your daddy," referring to Antonio Conte when he was the coach of Spurs, and Lukaku did not like that. And when we released that, it went viral. Chelsea didn't like that, and so yeah, yeah, it's a funny one. It's a funny one.